Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my very windy, about to be very rainy garden. I normally wouldn't be out in the garden today, but I have one task that I really want to get done today, and I feel like today's the perfect day to do it. Side note, I definitely have to do something with these pots in front of my office. Every storm, doesn't matter how little of a storm it is, they get knocked over. It's just, I gotta stake them up, or I don't know, I gotta do something. Okay, so my plan for this windy and soon to be rainy day is to fertilize my citrus, specifically my lemon tree, my Eureka lemon that I just planted in the orchard garden in the front yard. I also want to get my evergreen clematis in the shade garden, the secret shade garden. I want to get that fertilized as well, and that I'm going to use plant tone. So both of these plants should be fertilized in late winter. For the evergreen clematis, you want to make sure that you fertilize it before it really starts flowering. I'm actually kind of late on this because I have one of my plants that is actually already starting to flower, and so I need to make sure that I give it some fertilizer so I can support its flowering, and then I will actually fertilize it 2 more times this year to support more leafy growth, which is really what I want for those plants, because I am trying to train it up the trellis to kind of make it a living wall. So I just want to make sure that I get that fertilized today. And then when it comes to my Eureka lemon tree, that is a young tree. I just planted that tree like last summer. And so if you have a young tree, you want to make sure that you fertilize it to support its growth. If you have a lemon tree in a pot, all bets are off. You got to feed that thing. It's relying only on you for nutrients. So you really want to fertilize it about once a month, maybe every 6 weeks during the growing season with a good citrus fertilizer. But when it comes to trees in the ground, of course, those trees in the ground can get some nutrients from their surrounding soil. So it's not as, I don't want to say it's not as important. It's just not as detrimental if you don't fertilize it. For my young Eureka tree, I am going to be fertilizing it 3 times a year this year. I'm going to be fertilizing it once right now in late winter to support the new growth. I'm going to be fertilizing it once in late spring to support fruit set, and then once in late summer to support the growth for next season. Now, I have an orchard garden, and I have 2 mature orange trees and 1 mature lime tree, and you can also fertilize those. Even you can fertilize mature trees in the same kind of schedule that I just said. However, I am also doing the no-till method in that garden bed, which means I put a whole bunch of compost on top of the soil, and then I put wood chips over that. And the important thing with fruit trees is you don't want to over-fertilize them, because then that can get too much leafy growth. And so I think with all the compost that I've put on those fruit trees, I think they have plenty of nutrients being as mature as they are. And I believe that because they are so incredibly prolific. So I'm not actually going to be fertilizing my mature orange trees and my lime tree, but this brand new Eureka lemon I am definitely going to fertilize. I just realized you can see our chariot in the background, and some of you are probably wondering why we have a chariot with a gingerbread man painted on it in our metal workshop. And I figured I would explain it. So the reason why is my daughter Sadie, she's in 6th grade, and our elementary schools go up to 6th grade, so she's going to graduate this year, and every year her school does chariot races. And so, like, friends kind of team up and they paint a chariot, and then they, race around and everything like that. It's really, really fun. So apparently it's really hard to get your hands on a chariot. So her friends, all the families, we found a chariot, and so we're basically saving it for June for the graduation. So that's why I have a chariot in my metal workshop by all my fertilizers. Why it has a gingerbread man painted on it, I'm not totally sure. I'm sure the girls are going to probably paint over that, but I thought I probably should explain why I have a chariot. Okay, so the reason why today is such a good day to be putting fertilizer on is because fertilizers, especially organic fertilizers, have a lot of yummy stuff in it, like blood meal, bone meal, sometimes, like sea kelp or something like that a lot of animals are quite attracted to, specifically an animal like this. So a super common question / comment that I get is, how do I put on fertilizer? How do I put fertilizer out on the ground without Monty digging around in it? And that's a hard question to answer because sometimes he does dig around. Sometimes we catch him and we have to stop him. And that makes it really hard because I don't want him to get sick or anything like that. And so that's why I try and time my fertilizer application for a day like today when it's going to rain. So the rain is going to help water in that fertilizer really well, disperse the scent, so hopefully he doesn't dig around in it. The other thing is, because it will be raining, I'm going to be putting him inside, and hopefully he won't complain too much about it and notice that I'm putting fertilizer on my plants. So that's one of the things that I've done. I've done this even before we got Monty. Monty's, a little over a year old, but at our last house, we lived in a neighborhood and we lived kind of in a walking path where a lot of people would walk and walk their dogs by. And so if I would put fertilizer on, I would notice that some of the dogs would, kind of pull on the leash and try and go into my garden and dig. And so if I applied the fertilizer on a rainy day, that happened way less because the scent was dispersed a little bit more. So I always try and time my fertilizer application as well as I can with a rainy day. Now I know some of you are thinking, Janie, my dog goes crazy for this fertilizer. Rain or watering it in or distracting them is not going to change anything. And I totally get that. We used to have a beagle, so I totally get that. Let me show you two other things. So both of these products are products that are bad smelling. They're not poison. They're completely natural. They just smell bad to dogs. And so this one right here is a spray. It's a liquid. It's called Bitter Apple. We actually used this on Monty when he was a puppy and we were teaching him not to mouth our hands in the girls' hands and stuff like that. And it definitely worked. You could see he got this look on his face like, ugh, what was that? And so this is something that maybe if you have a smaller area, like maybe if you have a pot or something, you could put some mulch on top of wherever you fertilized and then just spray this on top. Might be worth a try. But this one I actually know, I've used it at my last property when I had so many people with their dogs walking by, and I would plant, say I would plant bulbs and then I would put some bulb tone in, and the dogs would be super attracted to it and want to dig around. And so what I would do is on top of that, I would sprinkle a little bit of Repels-All. And not only was it for squirrels, to keep the squirrels away, but it was also to keep the dogs from digging in there. And this stuff is totally natural. It's totally safe. It just has cloves and garlic oil in it is the main thing. And it just makes it kind of stinky, right? Just kind of stinky for the dogs and all of the critters that's on here. And so it's not foolproof. Do you know what I mean? It just gives you something else that you can try that hopefully it'll just make it a little bit less appealing for the dogs or whatever critter is messing around after you fertilize. And so both of these things I think are really good options. I think a combination of all things is probably the best option, which is what I like to do. Just keep kind of changing it up so he doesn't get used to it. But for the most part, he mostly leaves fertilizer alone, except when it comes to citrus fertilizer. That's the only one that he likes, which is why I am fertilizing today. He's about to go inside. Okay, it is starting to rain. Monty, come on. Come on, Baba. Let's go. Okay, go inside. Good boy. He's like, wait, what? Okay, so I am using a Spoma citrus tone to fertilize on my lemon tree today. Look at this. Look at this. We got over an inch of rain last night, and it's just so saturated that the ground just can't take any more rain. But I do have to show you guys, as it's totally starting to rain, we got the orchard garden totally mulched, well, almost totally mulched, with wood chips, and it looks so good. It just looks so clean. I mean, kind of. These oranges are dropping like crazy, which means they're ready. But doesn't that look so good? Beautiful. So anyway, over here is my Eureka lemon tree. And when you fertilize it, you basically fertilize on height. So anything below 3 feet, you want to fertilize, what does it say? 2 pounds. Anything 3 to 6 feet, 4 pounds. 7 to 9 feet, 6 pounds. And then 9 feet, 8 pounds. So I would say this is 3 to 6 pounds. So I am going to be giving it this entire bag of fertilizer, which is crazy but it needs it. So you can see the leaves on my lemon tree have turned quite a pale yellow over the winter. Nothing to be worried about, totally normal. It's usually because it gets a little bit cold here, and when it gets a little too cold, they can turn a little bit yellow. And so having some good fertilizer to it is also going to give it a good boost of nitrogen, which is going to help green up those leaves, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do that and fill it all in and get inside before it starts raining too much. Okay, and then normally you would scratch it in, but I, of course, don't want to touch it right now. I didn't bring out any gloves. Okay, so easy enough. The rain is going to start pouring in just a couple minutes. It's going to water that in, and hopefully I won't have to put any of the Repels-All, but I'll watch Monty when he comes outside, and I'll do it if I have to, once this rainstorm has passed, of course, because otherwise it would just be a waste. Let me go grab the plant tone, and I'll get going on the evergreen clematis. Okay, so I'm going to grab a glove just so I can scratch this one in, and then grab the plant tone. I'm gonna get two. Ugh, this stuff smells so bad. All right, let's go fertilize the evergreen clematis. These guys are just gonna stay down until this storm passes. So my evergreen clematis, or Clematis armandii, is just, it's such a beautiful plant. I am obsessed with it. It's hardy zones 7 through 9, and it does like a little bit more shade. It can't handle the sun, especially because these are evergreen. It's a different type of clematis. It keeps its leaves all season. So if it has too much sun, the leaves are gonna scorch, and you're gonna see that until you get, you know, new growth or something like that. So you do have to be careful with how much light your evergreen clematis get. These get some good morning sun, and then this side actually gets some afternoon sun, and this side looks better than that side. I don't know. Over here, you can see I do have some blooms already that are too high for me to smell, which is, but they're so beautiful. I do have some buds right there. But for fertilizing, you want to try and catch it before it starts blooming. It's okay. I should have done this about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I just didn't get around to it. But you definitely want to catch it before it starts blooming. And then I'm going to do it 2 more times this year. I'm going to do it once in late spring, and then also once in late summer. Again, just like with the lemon tree, to support next year's growth. So I have 4 of these evergreen clematis right here. I have one here, one back there on that side of the fence, and then one on the right side that I think might be dead. I don't know what happened to it. So I might not be fertilizing that today. Unfortunately, evergreen clematis is not the cheapest plant. If you get it at the garden center, like if you get these size, these were probably 3-pound pots of evergreen clematis. It's gonna run you like $80, maybe even $100. However, these you can propagate. And at my last property, I had evergreen clematis, and it came from a cutting, and it grew absolutely beautifully. So I think that's definitely something that I want to do with these, is start propagating these for sure. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do right now is put some plant tone on. I chose plant tone because it's just an all-purpose. I've heard that you can use something like rose tone, which works really well for evergreen clematis, but I'm just gonna go with plant tone. It's super easy. And you don't have to be too careful about how much you put on. I mean, if you've seen Jim Putnam's videos on how he fertilizes his plants, he literally just tosses this stuff around his garden. It's the funniest thing. You have to watch it. But anyway, I'm going to do, I think, 1 cup per plant. I think if you look at the directions, it says shrubs, use 1 cup per foot of drip line. flowers and vegetables feed once per month during the growing season. I don't think I need that much because these only flower once at the early, like late winter, early spring. So I think I'm just going to do 1 cup because these guys aren't the biggest plants right now. And I also don't want to over fertilize these for sure. So I'll just do 1 cup right now, scratch it in, and then be done. You can see this is my 4th one right here, and I keep kind of looking at it. Hey, that's not looking good. So usually when you scratch it, you should see some green. I don't see any green. Okay, I think it's dead. I don't know what killed it. I don't know. So anyway, I can buy another one, or I can try and propagate some of this one. And I think that that's probably what I'll do. I'll have to be a little bit more patient, but I think that that's okay. So the only other thing I wanted to get done today is I wanted to fertilize my 2 lemon trees. I have 2 Meyer lemon trees in pots, and I have not been a good caregiver for these lemon trees. I feel really bad, and I'm committed to taking better care of them this year. So let me go get 1 more bag of citrus tone, and I'm gonna go ahead and fertilize those really quickly. I have to say, I stink really bad. This stuff, it smells so bad. I complain about it, but it's good. You want the smelly stuff. So here's one of my Meyer lemons in pots. A Meyer lemon is actually a lemon mixed with a mandarin. So it's a lot sweeter than a regular lemon. I mean, I like them. I don't love them. That's why we planted a Eureka lemon in the front yard, because I wanted more of that lemony smell. Look at all these weeds. My goodness. We wanted more of that lemony smell / taste as opposed to a Meyer lemon, but I feel like I am not the norm on that because a lot of people really, really like Meyer lemons. This one is in a pot. A lot of people have told me that it would be happier if I planted it out in the garden, and yes, probably, but I don't want it out in the garden. I want to keep it in a pot. I want to be able to move it. Oh my gosh, you know what? Look at this. It's a Lisbon lemon. Whoops. So a Lisbon lemon is a completely different type of lemon that's actually pretty common. It's one of the common ones. I feel silly now. I didn't even know. Oh my God. Okay, well now I feel like a really bad caregiver for this. This isn't even a Meyer lemon, it's a Lisbon lemon tree. Okay, so a Lisbon lemon is a little bit more tart than a Meyer lemon. It's supposed to be better for cooking, and I've kind of wanted one. It's been on my list to try one, and turns out I had one the whole time. All I'll say is, learn from my mistakes. Know what type of plants you have in your garden, and you'll appreciate it more. This is why I can't be one of those YouTubers that have the perfectly scripted videos. Okay, this pot I can confidently say is a Meyer lemon, because these are Meyer lemons right there. You can see that they're just a little bit darker yellow, almost orange, but not quite. So this one actually isn't even hooked up to drip. I'm not even planning on leaving it here. Oh, here's the tag. Let's double check. Yep. Meyer lemon. So this one I do want to leave in a pot. Now I don't even know about that Lisbon lemon, what I'm going to do. This one I definitely do want to leave in this pot. And this is a really, really beautiful pot that has lemons on it and everything. I actually got this one as a gift from my neighbor who passed away. And so this one's going to stay in the pot, which is totally fine. Meyer lemons can handle staying in the pot. I just have to be better at fertilizing it, which I am going to do this year for sure. Okay, so Meyer lemon, Lisbon lemon, and Eureka lemon trees are all fertilized. The wind and the rain are starting to pick up, so I'm gonna go inside. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.